Good afternoon, everyone. So glad to be here. I feel like we've heard such insightful and inspiring conversation earlier. So yeah, let's just get right on into it. So like Noah said, we're from Work & Co. Our talk today is called Pragmatic Optimism, Building Digital Products in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, very of the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Under Cardozo. I'm a software engineer and group technology director at Work & Co. California.
And I'm Reese Fuller. I'm a lead writer here in New York. We have a studio in Dumbo that I work from. So what do we do as an organization? We design and ship digital products that transform companies. We've been at it now for over a decade. We celebrated our anniversary last year, or last month actually, and have grown pretty rapidly in the past several years as well. We're 511 people strong in 9 offices around the world, and have a pretty strong focus on shipping products. So as you can see, in the past decade, we've shipped 472 altogether. So the focus is on making stuff, real tangible, world-changing stuff as much as we can. So how do we do that? In a number of ways, but I think really core to our practice and our philosophy is to learn and grow by sharing work and committing to it long-term to improve it together. So we want to start here because I think that's a point that I think most, if not all of us in this room can relate to. Work gets better through the back and forth of conversation, giving feedback, taking input, shaping and perfecting it is kind of the core of the design process. We're not merely here to help solve our clients' business problems and just kind of say goodbye and hope the product grows and evolves naturally on its own, but really learn and grow through the long term and commit to the health and sustainability of that product. So as a part of that process, we see artificial intelligence, I would imagine, as many of y'all probably do, just a new arena to start playing in, a new way to make those conversations that improve the work happen a lot more quickly. So transformation happens on an organizational level. I think it's obviously been really impactful, as you'll see, for our organization and for our client partners as well. And that's pretty obvious maybe, but it's also on a personal level too. I think, as a lead writer, maybe other marketers and writers in the room can relate. There's that ongoing sort of threat presented from artificial intelligence. And it's kind of scary sometimes to deal with that and think about that and how your job may change and the impact on the industry. Kind of similar to maybe the feedback process of sharing work. It definitely was for me. But after working with Andre and a number of our other colleagues and really getting my hands dirty with the tools and seeing how they work and the potential outcomes from them, I think I learned a lot and was changed and transformed through that as well. So it's an opportunity not just for our organization and for our clients, but for our people too. So speaking of people, I think a big part of our focus as well at Work & Co. is to work how the best people want to work, not just how the industry expects us to work. From day one at Work & Co., a core part of the philosophy was just to attract the sharpest, most engaged craftspeople in the industry and create an environment where they feel like they can do their best work and show out and exceed. And we've done that across all disciplines, from PM to design to tech. And we really just take really good care of them. And I think that helps us create and maintain an atmosphere where exploration and experimentation feels really natural and is the kind of environment that has sort of led us to the ways that we've embraced artificial intelligence at our organization. So yeah, I think it's something we all can relate to here. I think it's important to keep these people sort of close to us and this community together as we start to get sharper in terms of how artificial intelligence works, not just because of the hype, but again, because it really changes the process of work altogether. And speaking of work, when we say best, we mean it in all respects. It's made more quickly, on a shorter budget. It can be better and a more accessible experience for users, and really pivotal to our clients' business goals. I think more than anything, we're just trying to make the best work that we can and using artificial intelligence now to sort of push and accelerate that process. So for us, that's really looked like investing in our scrappy resources and these extra artificial intelligence-driven products to create new proof of concepts and internal tools to really better understand the ways that we can use this to supplement the work. So billable hours didn't necessarily really apply to the stuff that we'll show you later on. It was kind of more of an organic effort to make some of this stuff happen. So from the outside looking in, I think Work & Co. is really celebrated as a design agency. But our real special secret sauce is the fact that we're just as sharp as a tech company. It's the real reason why we're so bullish on artificial intelligence. And I think also the real reason why we're so able to use the technologies to drive our process in a new, interesting, and unique way. Fun fact, we have nearly just as many tech experts on our team as we do designers. Nearly a quarter of the team is made up of engineers, developers, and QA. So being so balanced gives us, again, this sort of special ability to, I think, create especially elegant and aesthetically pleasing solutions that also really are technically possible and work. So when we show you something interesting, it's not just like for the fanfare or the fiction. It's like really technically possible. So I think that's really exciting.
So I get to tell you a little bit about our journey so far. Like, everyone was really interested in using these technologies to do the work, but some people were concerned about how our industry is going to adopt them. I think there's a big difference in using the tools to augment the work or use the tools to automate the work. And we might be talking about millions of people getting out of the work. So we wanted to create an environment where these people could voice their concerns and could all learn together. It was also super important for us to learn how these models were trained. I think we talked about biases in the data, and most important, how we're using these models with our data could affect our policies. We realized that some people were already working on some of these prototypes and experiments in their spare time, so we decided to facilitate a little bit more the work. We scheduled a series of talks, and we started to document everything into our internal knowledge base. As these groups with similar interests were being formed, we decided to invest and actually build and research these tools with everyone. The goal was really, and I think the most important part is that we didn't consider there's any bad ideas in this context. We really wanted to experiment. The goal was to gain the intuition, to build this tool, ship it, and get user feedback. It's important to highlight that in order for us to get this deeper understanding of these technologies, we wanted to build our own infrastructure. So we decided to create an infrastructure using AWS and Kubernetes. And now it's very easy for us to deploy a new database or a Python notebook powered by a GPU, so we can fine-tune these models or train it in no time. So we can move from an idea to a demo very quickly. And this whole field that's called now machine learning operation is very interesting to us, like understanding how the data works, the requirements, train and fine-tune these models, and finally be able to monitor and deploy these models to production. We built these tools tied to our process. So in the beginning, during concepting, we're generating a ton of ideas, we're exploring different territories, so it made sense to us to use generative AI to support this phase. We spent a lot of time inside Figma, so we created a couple of Figma plugins that integrate AI. This first one here is called AI Writer, and it solves two use cases. The first one is that allow anyone to use the language model straight from Figma, and the second one is it offers a kind of a guided approach. So you can see here, you can start from an idea, ask the plugin to brainstorm new ideas, and then you can keep elaborating. And since this is integrating with Figma, you get all the nice things about like the mood player and the infinite canvas. I think in the future, I see a place where we can have the plugin know a little bit more about the context of the file, so it can give better answers and things that are more contextual to what you're doing right now. The second plugin here, we call it the image generator. And designers usually take a lot of time to find the images and look at image banks. So we built a plugin that's powered by a generative model that can create images on the fly. The way it works is you describe what you want or the vision for an image, and you can get a couple of variations inside Figma right away. Again, because you're using Figma, you can have hundreds of images there. I think an interesting thing while we were developing this is that the technology was moving so fast that we had to change the underlying model a couple times. And now with the latest advancements of these models, we can actually train a specific model, fine-tune it to a specific artistic style or photographic style. So we could have client-specific models that are trained on an image library. So that's super interesting. The second area is detailed design. That's where we start, the ideas start to converge, right? We need to refine the concepts, and we do a bunch of user tests to find the right patterns, etc. So the first tool we built to augment that work, it's called Design Search. And it's kind of an early stage tool for now. We use a model called Clip that allows us to use both images and text at the same time. And we created a data set of around 35,000 images from Figma. I estimated that we probably have a couple 100,000 of images that we could ingest into the system. But after we have the data set, we generated the embeddings, the vector representation of all these images, and we created a semantic search engine. So you can do things like search for a specific flow or patterns just by using natural language. So you see here, we're looking for the mobile signing flow. You get all the files related to it, and you're able to find the Figma file, et cetera. A cool and fun use case is that you can actually sketch a UI on a piece of paper, take a photo, and look for similar designs. So people are super excited about this too. The second one, we had to redact a little bit in order to show, but it's a tool that I'm super excited about. So this tool uses a combination of different techniques and models. The first one is a model that transcribes the audio into text. We use another model to identify who is speaking, so we can separate the interview from the interview. And finally, after we have the text, we can use a language model to summarize what the content was or look for insights of how the session went. We also use natural language processing to do sentiment analysis. So you see here, we have the speaker, we have the time frame when they said, and a cool use that after we have everything, we can actually start to ask questions about the content. And then we get the answer back with a timestamp of where it was mentioned during the interview. Right now, we limited it to user testing videos, but we could pretty much use with any videos or any content. Like one use case could be just use with Slack channel, for example. The final phase, development, we wanted to create tools to help with repetitive tasks, so really augmenting the work. This tool we created is called Test Pilot, and it's a tool that helps us validate the interface, the way it functions, if it's functioning as designed. So the goal was to eliminate the repetitive process of going over these flows over and over again. The framework doesn't know anything about the app, and it figures out what to do just by looking at the labels, the text, and the images of the application. So you see in the example here, we just give them an objective, and it's able to go and execute the test and validate that it works. So super cool use for it. So all this work led us to this final example. So we explored the tools. We realized there's potential to build new ways, new types of user experience, and new ways of creating this user experience. So we combined the experience that we had with semantic search, generative AI, language model, and building these agents to create a new way to shop online. I think we're calling it the conversational commerce. So let me play a video.
Thank you. Yeah, pretty exciting, right? Yeah, awesome. Really cool to see. I think, like we say here, in some ways AI changes everything, but in others it really doesn't. I think my experience personally in working on that project specifically, kind of shifting my perspective as a more traditional product writer to what we're now calling a prompt engineer. Thinking about new ways to train this model to understand and recognize and have a more fluid conversation in the context of an e-commerce experience was another opportunity for learning and growth. And I think as an organization, as we continue to play and experiment and use what we can from the process to innovate, it's as much an organizational transformative experience as it is personal. It really does feel like a new chapter, not just for industry, but for society at large, similar to the emergence of social media or even talking about Web3 and NFTs from last year. But I think if we all in the room can take a step back and just recognize that things also don't change at the same time. There's still biases baked into these models. There's still going to be a lot of the same problems that we had before that we need to recognize and reconcile with. Just recognize that it's more of the same, but just kind of different. You're still shopping, right? You're just having a conversation while you're doing it. So yeah, I think that has helped me sort of ease some of that anxiety, and hopefully that's something you all can take too. But as an agency, we're really committed to learning and exploring, and doing so is a part of how we responsibly learn and test, and we tell that to our clients all the time to help them feel more comfortable in this brave new world as well. So these are just a handful of questions that we've been asking ourselves as we continue to integrate artificial intelligence into our own processes. We obviously don't have all the answers yet. I don't think anybody does. Like we said earlier, if someone's pretending to have all the answers, they're probably lying to you. But we believe that just keeping these questions top of mind is a really healthy way to have an honest and open conversation, and will be key to our continued success. So for us, this looked like creating a totally new e-commerce experience, as you just saw, really like researching and listening to what other experts' worries and concerns were out in the field who had been working with artificial intelligence maybe a lot longer than we had, and devoting our own resources internally to not just playing and experimenting, but understanding the new ways to implement this technology in a more fluid way. But it could look totally different for you and your organizations, but this has been a good guiding light for us and for our clients as well. So yeah, that's what we have. Would love to chat with you all more this afternoon, or feel free to get in touch at hello@work.co. So thank you for the time.
Yeah, we hope you got excited about this.